Hello, and I hope you've all had an absolutely excellent Christmas. Welcome to the channel. I've picked up an extra Christmas present in the form of a slight sniff, so if my voice sounds funny, that'll be why. Now let's just take a look at this homemade barbecue many years ago. Sadly rusted out now, so maybe I'll fix it, maybe I won't, but this is how we're going to start off this video to show you how I made the Poly-X go round the loop. So firstly I'm going to demonstrate how I made these sections of rail. So in my hand I've got a mole grip or vice grip wrench, one length of Triang Super 4 track, and we've got the curve of this old barbecue. So I'm going to get my camera just on a stand and then I'll show you quickly how I form the radius. Well, one thing I can tell you is it's not barbecue weather at the moment, but I'm going to just try and demonstrate this. So these Super 4 rails are all ones that I had left over from the plating. Now I'm just going to get my wrench on the edge of the curve of the barrel and just clamp the rail. Now these rails, a little bit like an RSJ, they bend lovely easily sideways, but not very easily in the other direction. So anyway, the rail is now clamped to this barrel and that prevents it from twisting. And then what I do is just with my fingers, you can see perhaps that I'm just forming it past the contour. Now when you get more or less halfway it becomes difficult because it wants to twist, but you just have to persevere with it and just keep holding it. And what you can do is when you get to a certain point is you can run it round the actual lip. So I'm just going to do a bit more now. Very Heath Robinson, but it works, and you can see now we're starting to introduce quite a curve into this rail. Just do a bit more. And if you do bend it or get it in the wrong direction, you can just ease it back with your finger and thumb. But we're getting a curve in that now, so what I would do is release it, turn it round the other way, just clamp it, and then do the same again. So I'm just starting to get that gradual curve in the rail. It's fighting me, I can tell you that. But the main thing is, with a little bit of perseverance, you can get a really good radius on it. Now, it is cold out here, so I hope you can see that this is now curving quite nicely. Let's get back into the workshop, see how the track goes together, and take a look at Poly-X. Okay, well I'm back inside and I must say I'm pleased because it's blinking cold out there. So, what are the advantages of the good old Super 4 track? Well, here's one. Look at this. You can really move the base about and it's not bonded in, it clicks in. Well, not click, but slips in. So I don't know whether I can demonstrate, hopefully on the camera, but I'm going to try and very carefully thread my newly adjusted rail into this bit of track bed. And I don't want to crack off the little lugs, so I'm doing it quite carefully and obviously trying to show you. I'm probably fumbling a bit, but look, you can see we're already getting a nice radius there. Now when you do, I found that when I put the track on and curve it in this direction, it creates a few gaps, but it was only a bit of fun. But making the track was relatively easy. Using the self-grip wrench, I can just straighten out little kinks if I get them in, or tighten the radius up a bit. But it wasn't too difficult. Now I know a lot of you who use Super 4 have problems with fish plates, so let's just there might be others available, I don't know, but you can see the make there. And these SL810 actually work on Super 4. So I've got a few in here, and these are what I used when I made the actual loop, so I got some really good contact. Obviously they don't, you have to be careful how you put them on. You can tighten them up with a pair of pliers, but if you're struggling looking for a fish plate to join some Super 4, you can get away with using these, and they're quite good. Right, well, let's get on to Polly-X herself. I've got a few tools here. I've got a standard Polly to show you, so let's just take the body off standard Polly, and look at that beautiful thing. There's the brass gear, pickups, and the trusty old XO4 motor. Now in a minute I'm going to put a bit of film showing standard Polly against Polly-X around the Super 4 layout, and there's a bit of a difference, but unfortunately Polly-X won't go all the way around the Super 4 layout because an enhanced Magnadhesion, I'll call it version 2, just pulls it off the rails at points and diamonds. But let's see if I can get the body off. Okay, look, it's not quite the same, is it? Let's have a look underneath for a start. Got a bit of an improved gear ratio there. Anyone recognise that gear? What might that have come out of? Okay, well, that's out of a 1960s, 1970s Scalextric car. Now, I needed a fairly short motor, and I've hot glued it in, so I can take it out and restore the chassis back to normal working if I want. But this little motor, well, this came from one of my son's damaged Scalextric cars. The motor was actually mounted parallel to the axle in this one, so that had just a reduction gear, so I couldn't really use that. But the nice old 1970s, which is almost like a bevel gear, contrate type gear, gives me the ability to put the motor in the right orientation, and it also gives us a terrific amount of speed. And to aid grip, well, there you can see. I'm just going to put this down and cut to the pack of magnets that I got, just so you can see what they're like. Okay, well, I did insert, hopefully you saw the standard Polly at full speed. Quite good, nice for the layout, but no good for the loop. And then I did get one section where the Polly-X nearly got up to full speed, just going through the station, but it's just so difficult to run this thing at full speed on the main layout. Originally I was wondering whether I'd be able to just get it round using centrifugal force and speed to hold it to the loop, but I soon realised that we needed a little bit more help. So even with the additional speed, I needed to just get a little bit of help gripping to the lovely steel Super 4 rails. Now, when I mentioned earlier about those fish plates, of course, if you like Series 3 or even standard track, because the profile is the same as Super 4, you can use those fish plates on the older Triang track just to get you out of a bit of trouble. Now look at these only cost a few pounds, and they're just immensely strong, these modern I can't even say it, Neo Magnet. I'm not saying the full word, probably pronounce it wrong anyway, but Dinium, something like that, Neodymium, oh, who knows. Look at these, I got 10. Now I'm going to take one off, and they're powerful little things. So they tend to just disappear as well, because you put them on the bench and then something will go quite near them, and next thing you know, they're away. But I experimented originally thinking belt and braces, whether I'd put 2 on the front, 2 on the back. Got to be careful getting them too near the motor, because they alter the magnetic properties of the motor and it won't run nicely. So I tried them on the front and the back, and that's why I did actually remove the 2 coupling protrusions. I can put those back if I want by drilling in and just putting a peg, but originally, let me just see if I can show you, I hot glued on 4 of these because I honestly thought that might be the answer in this sort of configuration. 2 at the front, 2 at the back, but we had all sorts of problems when it came to the tightening of the radius of the curve. It would just wheelie off, lift the front or the rear wheels, no success. So I went back to the drawing board, and in the end I just got my hot glue gun out and I just put 2 in the center. Now you have to maintain, just for a little bit of fun, a bit of a gap between the track for short circuits and stuff, but let me just see if that'll go in. So hopefully you can see there's about, I don't know, just around not quite a 1/16 of an inch, or if you're interested in millimeters, perhaps 1.5, 2 mil. But look, let's hang her upside down, plenty of grip there. So in fact, I probably could have just left the original motor and gear ratio and it would have just crawled round. Right at the end of last week's video, I did stop it, or just show it just stopping, just to give you a clue about the magnetic properties. But they are just immense, these. They're great fun to experiment with. And I tell you what, you don't have to worry if you haven't got a remagnetizer, because I've been doing some experiments and I'm going to do a video on it. You can buy a pack of these for less than £10, which gives you 10 magnets. And I'm just working on a way. It's difficult to quite find out where their north and south poles are, but I'm going to try and use them as a slave magnet. So if you've got a tired XO4 or XO3 Hornby motor, anything, I'm just going to do a few tests to see whether just putting this on the back of the existing magnet will give you a little bit of a boost. Now I haven't carried this test out yet, so probably there's a 50-50% chance it might fail, but there's also a chance it might work. So whether it goes on the back of the magnet or on one of the sides, or even, I don't know, whichever orientation works. I'm sure if we can induce a slightly stronger magnetic field into the motor, you can probably revive motors if you haven't got a remagnetizer. So for less than £10, if this works, you'll be able to rejuvenate 10 motors. So that's something I'm going to look into in the new year. But these are great. Now I'm just going to get that. Cool. Unbelievably powerful. So there is really Poly-X. She retains her original suppressor, and I can take this hot glue off. Had to actually file the pickup plate a bit to get that. So there are, you know, but a pickup plate can be replaced. I can put the XO4 motor back in here if I want to, but I think I'm going to keep Poly-X as Poly-X. She doesn't deserve to be taken apart, I don't think. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of insight into this fun I've been having with the Loop. It really is just interesting sometimes to see if you can do something a little bit different with some old spares. And yeah, look at that. The problem is, I will say that that magnet, once it breaks, she's gone. So there is, you know, there's an element of risk involved. But as I say, it was just a bit of a fun thing to do for Christmas. Thanks for all the positive comments. I hope this has shown you how it works. And next stop, New Year. So in advance, I'd like to Once again, thank you for looking at the channel, at the content, writing your comments, and I'll wish you a happy new year in advance. And all being well, I'll see you in 2023. But until then, thanks for looking at this video about Poly-X and the Extreme Loop set. And for now, I'll say goodbye.